Welcome to the recording for Pro Tips for Part Tagging. My name is Amanda Adams and I am with HNI Workplace Furnishings. I'm really excited to bring you guys this content as I feel like this is something that I've learned over my years of working with CET and with different manufacturers, different lines, large, small projects, all the same. And I find that part tagging is something that can really give you an edge if you know how to use it and you are efficient with it. And it is also one of those things that can also make your life an absolute living nightmare. So, this course hopefully will teach you some things that you didn't know and probably some things you already did. So we're going to take a look at what we're going to be covering in this. But for the most part, we're going to go through the basics of part tagging, then some tagging translations, so how those tags translate over into other spec software, and then some best practices, which I'll kind of touch on in the beginning as well, and then leveraging that part tagging to really work for you and make this a lot easier for you as you work through projects. So let's go ahead and jump right into CET and go over the basics of part tagging. So I already have a drawing pulled in here, and I already have all sorts of tags made. But when you open any drawing in CET, the very first thing that you will see is a tag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reconfiguration. So from here, what you can do is you can change the names of any of these tags. So you would change a name of an existing tag or make a new one. So to make a new one, I'm just going to click Make New, and it is going to make a number here for me, and I am just going to call it maybe, here we go. And I'm just going to name it something like this. At any point, you can change the color of these tags just by clicking on the color, and I'll make this one that blue just so we can see that it is the one that we're working with for showing you an example. Now, to apply this tag to my drawing, if I wanted to tag for a room, I would recommend using either the tagging rectangle or the custom shape tag. So the tagging rectangle works really simply. It will put a rectangle right on your cursor, and you do 1, 2, 3 clicks, and there is your tag for your room. Now, if you had a funky shaped room like this and you really wanted to kind of be exact, or if you had some really weird shaped rooms, so anyone who's worked with a building shell with a 43-degree angle knows exactly what I'm talking about. But you can use this custom shape, and this will put a little cursor on your mouse, and you can just click right away like you're drawing a polyline, and it doesn't have to be exact, but as long as you get the gist of it. And then if you get across and you don't remember where you started, or you just want to close this and don't want to bother with it, you can always right click, and that will finish your command for you, similar to in AutoCAD. So from here, if I want to move this tag right in here, I can, and I have my custom shape. I could do the same exact thing for my room over here, or I could do kind of 2 rectangles overlapping each other. So if you're in a hurry and you just want to do something simple, you can always do something like this, where we have those 2 that will overlap each other. Now, keep in mind that if you do something like this, the furniture in the middle will have to be usually fully within one tag or the other to make sure it actually accepts the tag. So keep that in mind, but that is pretty much the basics on how to do room tags, and we'll go over some part tagging individually, how to remove those, so on and so forth, a little bit in the best practices and leveraging part tagging. But if I did a whole area that I didn't want to do, I can always just come in here and delete. And yes, we're going to delete that, and it will remove all the tags that I had put in my drawing. So from here, we're going to go ahead and remove that and focus on what we have on the rest of this. So let's go ahead and jump into the tagging translations. So this is something that is really important to understand, where your tags are going to end up when you export. Now, of course, this is different depending on your manufacturer, as well as depending on what CIF export you're using out of CET. So for this example, I made this chart just using the Configura CIF export on some Fika products. So again, not specific to any manufacturer. This is just basic tags in CET and how they translate to Spec and to Worksheet, since those are the most common. But keep in mind that this is also important if you are going directly into another ordering or spec software similar to like Hedberg or Team Design, Core, Chameleon, all those kinds of things. So keep this in mind. The basic thing that I want to go over here is that tag 1 column is going to be our most important tag, hence why I recommend using tag 1 for rooms. And that's really important to where that will end up on our cases or our cartons when we get our order shipped and on site, to where our installers know where everything is going and they can easily stage the product. So tag 1 is really important, and it will export into Spec as tag 1 and then exports into 2 places in Worksheet. So it will go into the tag as well as the alias 1 column. Now tag 2 will do very similar, except as any of you who work with Worksheet know that Worksheet only has 1 tag column. So for tag 2, it will load into the generic as well as the alias 2 column. And then tag 3 into the tag 3 and alias 3 columns respectively. Now with the new additions of tag 4 and tag 5, those do not export or import rather into CAP. So keep those in mind, that you may not want to use really important stuff that you need if you use Worksheet. So keep it to those tag 1 through tag 3. And if you ever need to move the information from a different column to another, keep that in mind too, because that can really help you. But so we'll talk a little bit more about this as we get into some of the best practices. So I'm going to go over what I think are some best practices. Keep in mind, this is just from my experience and my opinion. So you might have some things that you do that are better than this or more efficient for the way you work, which is totally acceptable. But I wanted to show you guys what I have and what I like to do, because I found that this has given me an edge and given me a lot of time back in my schedule. As we all know, that is very, very precious. So the first and most important thing, if you take absolutely nothing else away from this recording, it would be to never change the names of tag 1, 2, or 3. So if I, for instance, had changed tag 3 to say phase, now because CET no longer has a tag 3 will not export. So CET goes to grab for that tag 3 and there isn't one, so it doesn't export anything. So when I'm in Spec and I'm looking for my phases and I'm like, why can't I find my phases? Well, it's because I changed the name of the category. Not all hope is lost. You can change these names back, but don't change them in the first place. If you need to, make custom ones. So here you can see I've made some custom ones for proposal number and department as an example. And those will not export, but it keeps me organized within my drawing. So it'll make it really easy for me later on. So I'm going to change this back before I forget. If you ever change a tag on accident or inherit a drawing where somebody else has changed it, you can always change these back. Make sure to do it in all caps, no spaces, and then with the number that you are needing. So now that that tag 3 is restored, it will export just fine when I export a CIF. Now, so that's probably the most important thing. And we kind of went over some more of this, but my second tip is to make sure that you always tag your furniture plans before you ever start drawing furniture. So if we look at my tag 1 here, I tagged all of these rooms before I ever started drawing furniture within this drawing. And that makes it really easy to make sure that all of the rooms go right up into the corners. Because if you, we'll just do it over here with this tag. But if you notice, if I bring this in and I'm trying to like grab a corner of a room, it is so hard when I have all sorts of other furniture in the way. I have to zoom in so far to be able to see that. And then hope that I get the right area. So that is just another reason it will save you so much time if you tag your plans before you ever draw furniture. Trust me on this one. So now that we have, I'll leave that. Here we go. All right. So That is my second tip. My third one is going to be never tagging things for rooms individually, okay? And I'll show you why. So let's say we have this lounge chair and this table, okay? And I want them we want to add another chair and table over here into this huddle room, okay? So I'm going to show this as an example, and I am going to tag individually this chair and this table. So right now it looks like nothing changed. But if I were to copy these and put them over here in my huddle room where I'm going to be adding them, since we have it highlighted, even though they are in our 202 huddle, they are still tagged for 200 reception. So if I were to go to my calculations view, you'll see that I now have 3 chairs and 2 of these tables in the reception area, which is definitely not what we're looking for. And that is because I've tagged these individually, and CET will take that individual tag over an area tag, specifically for reasons like this. So I would recommend never using individual tags when you are tagging for rooms or areas. Keep that for when you are doing furniture tags. So you'll see all of these that I have in my drawing, I have done individually, whereas each of these, with the exception of the one I just did, are tagged by area. Now, if I wanted to, I can highlight these. And when I do that, I can remove the tagging from them. So here, we'll just select those 2. So now that I have that, I can click on my reception tag over here and I can do remove from selection. Now that it's done that, if we tag or if we go over here to our huddle tag, you can see that it is now accepting those huddle room tags because it doesn't have anything individually on it. So keep that in mind. Now, I know we kind of talked about the tagging translations and how those translate over to the manufacturer side and then into install, but know where they're going to show up on your cartons and know what's going to show up. Most manufacturers only get tag 1, and they're also limited to a specific number of characters. So for this reason, sometimes you can have really long tag names, especially if you have an A&D firm who has each office named for each individual person going into them, which is great, but can make it really painful when you're doing tagging. So make sure that you are doing the numbers first and then the room name, to where that way it at least guarantees that your room number will always get on your package, as well as this will organize it very nicely within your calculations view, to where you can do audits and your installers will be able to quickly filter through these when they are on site in the midst of it. So keep that in mind. Now, the last couple that I have for best practices, again, these are just what I've learned over the years, is that when you are doing individual tags, like room tags like here, you can kind of see where I've made some others, but I always make sure to change the names and then if I want to, the colors. So let's say they're adding some more like accessories, so maybe some whiteboards or something like that, and they're tagged like ACC-4 and ACC-5. Well, instead of creating like a whole new tag from something else and I'm going to rename it, I can select the tag that I want it to like increment from, and I can click new tag and it will increment from this and then keep the color as well. Now, when I'm doing this, notice that it will increment up. And this can be really handy when you have a ton of tags. So if you have a ton of chairs and you don't want to sit here and have to retype this individually a million times because you have 516 different chairs on your project, I hope that you don't. But if you do, this is a really handy way to just copy those tags and then tag them right in your drawing and keep on moving. So Then the last thing that I have for best practices, and you can kind of see that I've made that down here at the bottom, are you can make custom categories. So I find these really handy for proposals and things along that sort. So we'll use this as an example, but I'll change the name of this just so I can remember it easier. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's not original, right? And then we're going to tag individually. So let's say it's this new table and chair that we added to Huddle Room 202. Now that I have those tagged, you'll see once we get over into calculations here, I will be able to highlight those on a single article view and export just them. So that can be really handy and save you a ton of time if you have a large floor plan and, everybody's adding their own things. 2 different executives add another chair. You have, everyone in the sales department gets pencil drawers, and then, so on and so forth. The list goes on. So that can really help you to isolate items that are going to be on a day 2 ad, or are add-ons on maybe a project that wasn't originally yours. So keep that in mind, that will really help you later on. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to the next part of this, which is leveraging part tagging. So this is going to be all about how to use those advanced skills to really push the envelope on your speed and your efficiency, organizing your projects and keeping these really, really tight. So I find some of these tips are going to be a use this but be careful of because some of these I have, again, learned the hard way. So we're going to come back over here into CET and we're going to look at filtering calculations. So if I open up my calculations dialog, we're going to come over to our main article view. Now our main article view cannot be filtered. So if we open up our dialog, you'll see that the filter, it just says filters are not allowed in the main view. So let's say we want to make a separate article view just for those items that we added for that proposal. Okay, since we were just on that, we'll go ahead and pick it up there. So I'm going to type in that proposal. Now, any of those custom categories that you've made within your part tagging are going to show in this column. So you can see like we added that department. So that is one. You can see it has nothing here since we didn't tag anything with it. But if I come down here to this proposal number, you'll see there's everything and then there's my proposal. So from here I can simply uncheck that everything, and only what's going to show up is what I have tagged for this specific proposal. Again, because it is tagged in a column that I don't have shown, you won't see it, but it keeps it really nice and handy to where I can get a clean SIF and I don't have to edit my SIF later on or tell them, exit or export the whole thing and then say, oh, by the way, this is lines 516 and 517, because who has time to do that? So this is a really handy tool for those day 2 ads where you can quickly export this and be on your way. So again, we're going to kind of touch on some of the things from best practices, which here we can see that I have sorted this entire view by tag 1. So it gives a really nice subtotal for each of those rooms and how much my client is spending on each of those. And then tag 2 here I have sorted for my A&D firms. So let's say my designers I'm working with have to do an audit with their furniture spec sheets to make sure that we're ordering the right quantities and that I've specified everything correctly. I can simply print or PDF this view and show all those details, and they can simply go through, because it's all in order by each of those tags, that they can go through and check that everything that I have specified is correct and up to what their specifications say. So that's really handy. And then phasing is also another thing that can be really handy here too. So when we are looking at this, if I already have a view filtered, you'll see it will have that parentheses with an F. So this one hasn't been yet. So we're going to filter this for phase 1. So I'm going to uncheck phase 2. So now everything that I am seeing here in this view is specifically for phase 1. And I know that because if I come down here, I can see that parentheses with an F next to tag 3 and know that that is how it is being filtered. So if I also were to turn on that tag 3 column here to see that, you'll also see that I have a parentheses with an F at the top of this column as well. So I can see in this plain view, if I have that column turned on, exactly what is being filtered. So that can be really handy if you're ever looking at an article view and you're like, why isn't this matching the main? Where's my furniture? You know, it's oftentimes a filtering thing. So again, something that can be really handy, but if you forget you're using it, or if you're in somebody else's drawing and they were using it, it can make your day a living nightmare. So just be careful and know that that's something that you can do. You don't have to do, but it does help. The next section of this we're going to go into is about part tagging for install drawings. So this again is kind of subject to which manufacturer you are utilizing. But we're going to come over to our paper view here, and I was doing some experimenting earlier, so we'll go ahead and delete that, and I'll show you how to do it fresh. So from here, I have my paper view set up, and again, you can do this on your title blocks, whichever. I'm going to draw a new 2D, okay? And for this, I want to show just highlighted phase 2. Okay, so my client wants to know what they're going to be getting installed in phase 2. The first thing I'm going to do is apply my black and white filter so that all of my furniture shows very nicely in black and white. And then my next one I'm going to apply is this show part tagging colors. So we're going to click on that and apply it to our viewport. From here, I'm going to select my viewport, and I am going to select my little add-ons down here, and we are first going to go ahead and configure our part tag colors. So from here, I know that I have those phase tags in the tag 3, so we're going to click tag 3. Now you might notice nothing's happening. You're like, what's going on? It's because we haven't edited our black and white filter yet. So if we come over here and do our black and white, we're going to click this filter button. And now we want to hide the black and white filter specifically for our phase 1 or phase 2, okay? Because we wanted to see what is going to be installing in phase 2. So to do that, I can simply hit this little like X over the little eyeball. And now we can see that everything here is showing up for what is going to be installed in phase 2. And then again, vice versa for phase 3. So if I uncheck that, or phase 3, I'm looking at tag 3, phase 1, I can do the exact opposite for that as well. So you can choose which filter you want for your tag over here in your tag part tagging filter. And then you can choose which ones kind of show through your black and white filter. So I know that can be a little confusing. Might have to watch this part of the recording a couple times to get it. But that can be really handy. For another example, we'll kind of show if, let's say we're doing a day 2 at that chair and table that we added over here in the huddle room. Let's go ahead and take a look at how that would look to show just that. So I'm going to switch back over to my part tag colors, and you'll see that proposal number. I want to show those tags. Okay. So now that I've selected that, I can come over to my black and white filter and then turn off that specific tag for the proposal. So now that I've turned that column off, you can see now that those will highlight. So this can be really handy, again, if the product of the manufacturer that you are working with allows this feature, but it can be really nice for your installers to take a look at and say, okay, this is what we're doing, easy peasy. So it can make things really, really legible for both yourself, your client, your installer, your project manager, everyone. So I absolutely love these. So that's our part tagging for installs. Now, the last 2 sections I want to go over have to do with part tagging in favorites and part tagging in blocks. So mostly because this has a lot to do with when you are creating maybe a master typicals file. If you're working on a really large, either like multi-building project or even a multi-floor project, and you want to make sure that you are leveraging your tags to go into your other floors well. So within blocks, if you are tagging within blocks, CET is only going to read the tag that you have in the furthest down block. So this one, for example, if I were to tag it outside of this block for a individual part tag, it won't accept it because it has tags on the inside of it. So if we come inside of it here and we open up our part tagging, we can see that I have that CH-6, CH-7, and T-3. So if I select my tag 2, we'll see everything tagged. So if I were to, let's say, accidentally tag this for like a workstation on the outside of it, it will not accept it. It will only accept the tags that are in the deepest section. Now, if I had these chairs in another tag or another block where it's like blockception, CET will take the tag the deepest down. So if I had them within a block and then tagged in that block, and then let's say they change the number, right? Because nobody ever changes their mind. And I tag them outside of the block and then go in and look for them later in my calculations view and can't find them, it's probably because the tag deepest down didn't get changed. So again, that's something as far as when it comes to blocks and blockception and tagging, things can get really complicated really, really quick. So just be mindful that CET is going to grab that tag the furthest down in your blockception. So keep that in mind when you are doing those. Now, as far as favorites are a little bit of another animal. Okay, so if we come back out to our drawing here, if I were to save this entire drawing as a favorite and import it into a brand new fresh drawing, it will bring in anything that is individually tagged out here in the open. So it won't take tags inside of blocks, and it won't take area tags. So if I were to open up my part tagging dialog again, you see these different items here under tag 2 that are highlighted. So if I were to bring this into an entire new drawing, all of those highlighted ones that we see would maintain tags because they're tagged individually. But all of my tag 1s for all of my floor plan, those are not going to export if I take this and make it a favorite. So keep that in mind when you are making those. And then when you're doing blocks as well. So maybe I would leave everything, if I wanted it to take the tags with it, unblocked. And then as I'm saving my favorites and bringing those into new drawings, if I want the tagging, block them after I put them into a drawing. So keep that in mind, or block them in a way that is easier or smaller chunks to where you can maintain that tagging when bringing something in. So that is the majority of everything I have for pro tips for part tagging. Again, there are a million different things that you can do with this. You can also goof and make yourself really, really hate part tagging. I've been there. I've done that. But these are what I have found the best things to make sure that all of my tagging is correct in my drawings, as well as everything is looking great in my calculations view, and I can save time by filtering for specific orders or for specific phases, making any of those install bill of materials that my installers use, so on and so forth. So hopefully you've enjoyed this recording for this session, and hopefully I got to see you in person in Grand Rapids. So if you have any questions about part tagging or how to utilize them, or even if you have some tips and tricks of your own that I didn't showcase that you would be so willing to show me, I would absolutely love it. I love learning new things. So you can always reach out to me. Here's my email. And I really appreciate you viewing this recording and hope that it has taught you a few things about part tagging. Thank you so much and have a good one.